Welcome to the Water Guys podcast. My name is Louis Borges. Joining me as always, my good friend and co-host, Mr. Shane McCarthy.
How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Ready for part 2 with our friend Clayton Diebert?
Yeah. Let's bring him on in.
Let's bring him on in. Welcome back. The first ever guest that's been on 2 consecutive shows. And that accolade goes to Mr. Clayton Diebert, the truth performance coach himself.
What an honor.
What an honor. You're not getting a plaque or a trophy or nothing. This is, take whatever we're paying you and double it. That's what that'll be your reward.
Excellent.
So, welcome back for part 2. We had a great chat last week, and we thought we'd do another one just following up on some of the things we discussed, and also to include discussions on things like prevention. We talk a lot about treatment, as we've mentioned before, in the world of hydrogen, everything from your brain to your skeleton, your eyes, ears, heart, kidneys, liver, they all benefit if you have conditions in that respect. But what about people that are healthy? How does hydrogen apply to them? So I thought we could go around the horn and discuss that. Myself personally, I don't suffer from any afflictions, but I drink hydrogen water, I inhale hydrogen gas, and I have a hydrogen shower filter. My reasoning behind why I use hydrogen products is prevention. I don't want to get Alzheimer's. I don't want to develop cardiac disease, even though hydrogen is very effective for dealing with those issues. Sometimes if it's too far gone, nothing can help you, regardless if it's medicine, hydrogen, changing your whole life. At some point, if you let 75 years worth of oxidative stress take over, it may be, too late. So I think prevention is just as important as treatment. Shane, you talk to a lot of people, as far as a lot of people that are in, lesser grades of health or not the best health. Then you talk to a lot of people that are biohackers that are doing absolutely everything to extend their lifespan, reduce aging, and just live optimally. So where do you think the balance lies with prevention versus treatment?
Well, first and foremost, you're drinking the hydrogen, you're bathing in it, and you're inhaling. No wonder you have no afflictions.
That's right. That's right.
I believe what I've said for a while now is hydrogen helps you reestablish and maintain a healthy, balanced level at a cellular point. And that's really, it's always about keeping that balance. For many, it is about reestablishing the balance, but maintaining that balance, either if you already have it or afterwards, is something that I am very passionate about helping people do. On top of that, for hydrogen use, there are actually a number of studies, close to 100 now, on exercise with hydrogen. So if you're an athlete and you're trying to take things to the next level, hydrogen is going to be a great way to do so. I personally, I like to lift heavy things up and put them down, and hydrogen helps me recover in a way so that I'm not destroyed for a few days after I have a serious leg day. For example, I leg pressed 1,000 pounds yesterday, and I'm still walking around normally without a limp, and without that hydrogen, I think I'd need a freaking wheelchair. And so, and on that note, I have a number of athletes that I work with, especially hockey players, and the results that they get are incredible, just with the recovery aspect of it. So there are many applications of hydrogen, and a lot of them are on the proactive and you're already healthy side of things.
What about you, Clayton? You're a coach for people that want to improve their lives and find ways that maybe are lesser known. Do you have mostly people that are in a poor state of health reaching out to you, or are they people that are already doing well, looking to optimize that even further?
Yeah, I get a little bit of both. You get people that are looking at, if they're in their 40s and they're looking at building their business to sustain a retirement, right? Such a silly word, and then they're looking at their health and wondering, well, is my health going to carry me through my retirement? And am I going to be able to enjoy the days, the finite days that we have, to the best of my ability? And if that answer is no, it's like, okay, well, then they come to me and they have to be willing to choose a few things within their lifestyle to get them from point A to point B. If they can visualize an ideal version of themselves in the future, like, then we can recreate it, as long as they're willing to choose that. And that one of the first things I always handle, because it comes down to people's energy, is water. Where are you getting your water from? How are you fueling your lifestyle? And if you are taking the most optimal water for your body to fuel your lifestyle, then that's all you can. That's step number one. It's very foundational. And like you say, it's not, I don't look at it as treating diseases, although, they're doing a lot of studies with different, 170 something disease models. But this is about preservation. This is about longevity. This is about optimization, so that we can take the amount of time that we have and we can enjoy it to the maximum potential, because we're mentally able, we're sharp, and we can really just seize the day, if you will.
Yeah. Well, think about retirement. Think about retirement. You make proactive steps throughout your life. It's not a last minute thing. You're 64, going to retire at 65. Hey, maybe I better start planning. No, retirement is like a several decade long plan to ensure that you're good when that time comes. Well, how many people have a several decade long plan in terms of what their health looks like? As I age, as I become 50, 60, 70, what things am I going to have to watch out for? What things should I take care of? Neuroplasticity, activity levels, diet, toxin removal, all these things. But how much thought actually goes into that, versus we all know, hey, you should plan for the future financially, but very few of us actually do that in terms of health. And you mentioned energy, and it's funny, I have a graphic here on the mitochondria. As we all know, the mitochondria are present in our cells. They are sort of the powerhouse of the cell, very important with the sort of energy exchange. But one of the side effects of oxidative stress is the mitochondria breakdown. So now you have mitochondria, and which contain DNA. There's mitochondrial DNA inside of your cells, separate from the nucleus. So if these things are involved in cell production and they get corrupted, not only are they going to make bad cells because the DNA is corrupt, but also your energy levels will suffer because they're directly involved in this ATP cycle. So not only does oxidative stress affect your mitochondria, it also, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, that can lead to things like Alzheimer's disease, because you now have the inability for your power cycle to really work at an efficient level. And when you have a buildup of excess oxidation, I have another one here. Here's excess oxidation in your brain, causing gene signaling and different things to happen within the genes itself. But there and again, the mitochondria starts producing bad cells. Oxidative stress leads to neuroinflammation. Neuroinflammation leads to things like Alzheimer's. So even just thinking that, well, I'm old, my energy stores are down because I'm old, that is actually a precursor to oxidation building up. You feel tired because that cycle isn't performing as optimally as it should. And the ultimate side effect of that is going to be major cardiac, neurological, or other kidney or organ, heart, lungs, you name it. All of our organs are vitally affected by mitochondria. And that's probably the biggest way hydrogen helps, is in keeping the mitochondria healthy, so that your body has programmed cell death. It kills the bad cells when it should, and it prevents good cells from exploding, or apoptosis prevents that from happening when it shouldn't. So it's a lot more than just, drink hydrogen, it's good for you. It really does fix your body at a cellular level. And the prevention comes from having properly optimized systems within your body. And again, if we don't pay attention to that, it could creep up on us. And now you're in your 60s dealing with mental decline. And it's a tough thing to fix when it's in full blown out of control mode.
Yeah, and to answer your question, the second part of it, I'd say the other 50% of the people that I work with, they're people that have found success in their business. And I don't know about you guys, but once in real estate specifically, because I was a real estate agent in the past, there's a level, when you're early on in your business and you're grinding, and you're pushing for more sales and to generate more income. And there comes a time where you hit a certain level where you've got money in the bank, all your bills are paid, your bills for the next few months are paid for, you know you've got deals in the pipeline, and suddenly you just become lighter. There's so much more space and freedom to focus on other things because you don't constantly have this little guy in the knocking on your door, be like, hey, how are you going to pay the bills? Hey, how are you going to pay the bills? And just reducing that noise to be able to focus on other areas. And that's when I was able to do the same thing. That's when, okay, like I know I'm already fit and healthy, but how can we really make this better? And doing that. So a lot of the people that I'm working with are in that stage where they might even be in good shape. They might already be really healthy, but they understand they've tickled into the rabbit holes enough to know that there's more there. There is more potential, and it can go so much further, and it can be even more fun. And just by being that much more optimized, and then it just overflows into other areas of your life. So that's when you get into, metabolic health, getting rid of metabolic dysfunction and cellular health, and just optimizing everything. And like you said, mitochondrial health, absolutely, that's a huge part of how our bodies function. So if we can optimize that and give the energy that our body requires for every other function to process in our body, then everything's going to be running like a better oiled machine. And if you want a Ferrari, you don't feed it lawnmower gas, you feed it high octane fuel.
That's right.
Oh, I don't know about you, but my lawnmower kicks ass. So no, that's it's interesting that it's funny that you mentioned you don't sound like a real estate agent, Clay. You're talking about mitochondria and stuff like that. I know a lot of real estate agents that are so focused on the grind and the game that are wildly unhealthy, and it's unfortunate to see because, I used to be a financial planner, and with a focus on insurance, and
used to be a what?
A financial planner.
Oh, financial planner.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with a focus on insurance, because I respect and understand the value of insurance as I've experienced that in a number of different ways in my life. But I used to sell critical illness insurance for usually no less than $100,000. Because when you get a critical illness, the average cost over 1 to 3 years is $100,000. So you can plan for your retirement and stuff, but if that all if you get sick, that all goes away. It's like the whole saying, a healthy person wants to travel the world. They want all the nice cars, a nice home. They want this and that and this and that. An unhealthy person wants one thing. That's to be healthy again. And that's where we found, I think, the three of us collectively is, living the proactive way allows you to enjoy your life more now and longer. And, the saying health is wealth is very accurate. It doesn't matter how rich you are. If you don't have your health, you don't have nothing. Right?
Now, imagine you live in the USA, you don't have health coverage. Let's say maybe you had it when you were working. Now you're retired, you're 70, and you need open heart surgery. How much do you guys think that costs in the US? I know it's 40 grand to have a baby. So it's a couple $100,000.
I'm gonna have to guess in that venture guess in the range of about $250,000.
Yeah, I would say more likely $500,000. We'll look it up and we'll get the actual stat. Last I heard, I thought it was 600 grand. And again, that varies state to state and whether you have coverage or not. But regardless, even if you did everything right financially, you put the plans in, even if you're good health-wise, sometimes these things just happen. Like you're totally healthy. I had a doctor who just got a brain tumor and died 8 months later. And the guy never smoked or drank or did anything wrong, one day in his life. So there are unexpected health things that can happen. If you make it to 70 without heart problems, you've done fairly well. Now, if you do have a heart attack, that's either going to destroy you financially or you're going to die from it, one or the other, right? And it seems like the most vulnerable sector are the people that don't have, protection, coverage, things like that. So if we talk about the cost, well, what does it cost to buy a water bottle? A couple $100, inhalation machine, couple grand, versus the eventual heart attack that's waiting for you in 30 years from now or whatever. So
I looked it up. I think you might have gotten it mixed up because the open heart surgery, it's saying here from Fair Square Medicare, it ranges from 30,000 to over 200,000. Now, those are the most common types of open heart surgery. I looked up heart transplants can cost up to 1.3 million.
Yeah.
And really, you talk about you can be you're either not going to make it or you're going to be broke. Probably going to be both.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. You're going to
Another
be
thing too.
you won't make it, and you're still and your family's now left with nothing because you've exhausted all of your resources and then some just trying to survive when you could have invested in your health prior to that and thrived.
And on the flip side, a lot of people find that they've, budgeted for retirement, but they actually live longer than they thought they would. Somebody who's 92 planned on dying 7 years ago. Now they're looking at like, do I actually have enough money to keep living? Right. So it's a complicated thing as we age. There's going to be a lot of things that come your way that you don't expect. The last thing you want is to deal with health. And let's be honest, it sucks not feeling good. When you get the flu and you want to lie in bed all day, if that's your daily state of energy level, and that's kind of how you feel, whether you're ill or not, you're not really enjoying life. You're just waiting to die, right? You want to thrive as best as you can. And will be some things that are out of your control, but control the things you can and don't worry about the others because they're out of your control. But I think proactive measures, Shane, you always say it really well. Everybody has the I'm fine mentality because you don't feel acutely ill. But a lot of things could be building without symptoms and you really don't know. So you think you're fine, but you could be on a collision course with something horrible in the future. For relatively small amount of money, you can do things that will actually work. There's a lot of pseudoscience in the world of health products. A lot of health products don't do what they claim they're going to do, but there are some good ones, and particularly in the hydrogen world, there is legitimate good product that will deliver good benefit. The key is proper education, as we always say, taking in all the information and then go with what your gut tells you. What makes the most sense? Stay away from the sensational claims and things that can't be corroborated. Go where the science takes you. The scientific method's not going to steer you wrong. So, in terms of modalities and ways of absorbing hydrogen, we've talked about it before. You can drink water. You can make it in an ionizer. You can have it in a bottle. You can use a hydrogen machine such as this, which can make your water as well. You can also bathe in it. In fact, I found on eBay, this is a hydrogen generator just for the bath. Shane, you're going to laugh because our entire system is less than this. And this is $4,500 US just to make hydrogen bath water.
Just for the bath. Wow. We're in the
Just
right
for
business.
the bath water. So, we've mentioned before our machine, it's an inhalation machine for both hydrogen and oxygen. You can combine the two and inhale oxyhydrogen or Brown's gas. We also have additional attachments for your eyes, your ears. That little stainless steel rod there is to make hydrogen water or to make the hydrogen bath itself. And again, this is using what's called the SPE or PEM membrane. So there are no negative byproducts, no chemicals like lye and things like that. Be careful, folks, if you're looking for Brown's gas machines. Most of them are using a chemical electrolyte. They don't make very good hydrogen on their own, so they need some help, but you don't want to be inhaling lye. They say it's safe and it's just a very little amount. Really, you got to take their word for it because there is no test for lye. So be careful with that. Go with things that are using natural water and distilled water, things like that. So.
Yep.
And in terms of ionizers too, for every day, multiple uses. Not only can you adjust the pH, clean your vegetables, you can create face toners, you can create, water for babies, feeding your plants, and you get hydrogen in a therapeutic dose throughout the day as well. So there's a lot of different ways and different products. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're always happy to help with that sort of thing. But where do you guys see in the next year? Because I see now, a year ago, when we started the company, we looked up hydrogen products. There weren't that many companies. Now, for what was once 5 is now seems like 50. So do you guys see any risk of the market getting too saturated and it just becoming too difficult to, determine what's what because everybody's claims are starting to sound the same and the average person doesn't have a clue? I'll start with you, Shane. What do you think now versus a year ago?
Oh, I wanted you to start with Clay.
Okay, we'll start with Clay. Is too many companies a bad thing or a good thing?
And you know what?
Go ahead.
I was part of this. It was something that I started learning about, and I wanted to know how I could be involved. And then I saw the opportunity from a drop ship, direct to consumer model.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started educating myself, and I found a product that I believed in. I bought like a whole bunch of them and really was doing a lot of digging and a lot of research and listening to guys like Taiwan Hubbard and finding what was actually a good product that I could stand behind. And so I think I found a decent one, but then it got to a point where I just didn't know enough about the product. And too many people right now in that space, in that drop shipping space, which is so convoluted, 95% of the bottles that are out there that you see on Instagram ads, Facebook ads, Temu, whatever it may be, they are all just white label products that someone is sourcing for cheap in China, and they're looking to distribute it direct to consumer and make a percentage off of it. Now, that's not necessarily an all bad thing, but when it gets to the point where you're making claims about health and all these different things through quick video and short attention span economy, and then you're giving people that information when it's not only is it not necessarily true and like solidly proven, but also then they're selling a product. Like Shane, you always say, like you're marketing a product, but are you actually selling it? And so that world is so convoluted. And I think from my perspective, it's getting better where the people that are actually know what they're talking about and they're actually educating people instead of telling people. I think that's a really big determining factor when looking for health products, is looking for people that are actually just providing education as opposed to those that are telling you things, because it's kind of a momentous of integrity. And there's you guys, there's a company that I'm involved with, there's other companies out there that are all making good products and getting their products properly tested to making sure no one's getting any negative side effects from them whilst providing education. And as for the next year, I know we talked about off air, Shane, we talked about a product that's coming out. And I mean, the company that I'm with is a fairly new company. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of things moving in the right direction. There's a lot of cross-pollination of modalities where they're just having hydrogen as a element of it. And I think hopefully it can only get better.
Yeah, I would I would definitely agree with that. I mean, in any market, anything, any group, any country, whatever, you're always going to have good and bad. You're always going to have people. The hydrogen market is a very, very exciting and evolving market, and people that lack that integrity, like you mentioned, will inevitably, of course, want to join it. And it's weeding through that. It's for the consumer trying to finding people like us that you can trust, and using your discernment. But I do believe that the hydrogen industry is going nowhere but up. There's going to be some speed bumps with people that are making claims. There's a big issue with AI on this. I think a lot of people are already just relying on AI to make their decisions. I've got a video that I will be doing separate to this, based off of a popular company. That I got the 5 reasons why they're the best, and it was so chat GPT that you could see it from a mile away. But the problem is, you go in to chat GPT and ask if another company is better, they're going to give you what you want to hear, because that's all AI is really right now, is just searching different web pages at an absolutely rapid rate that humans can't do. But it's still not putting the pieces together properly. And where I could see some hindrance on the industry as a whole is people not using their own intelligence and using artificial intelligence, and wondering why they get artificial response. But I do see, and I would say, especially in the inhalation game, I see a lot of promise, just with the emerging studies. I've been doing this since 2013. In 2013, there was about 350 studies. Now there's over 3,000. And even over only a couple of years ago, there's 2,000 studies, and a couple of years prior to that is 1,000. So you can see how it's speeding up, and more studies are coming out, and more human studies are coming out, because these things take time, and that's what I think people don't really understand with science. And I use science to back why I do what I do. I use science to help educate people in what I do, but I also I also know that science can, does, and will change, and so it's important to challenge the science. Don't just take science for what it says. Ask, investigate, challenge it. That's what science is meant to do. That's how we evolve. We challenge, and we don't just go based on status quo, based off what other people were telling me. Don't believe a word I say. Research it for yourself, right? This is where people do need to use their own discernment. Otherwise, yeah, I could see some, like I said, hindrance, but there's too many people out there that have integrity, that are entering the business market nowadays, that I see nothing but really good things happening with the hydrogen market. It's just going to open up more and more. In fact, I just saw, especially with athletes, I had a missed call from the head coach of a hockey team that got 2 machines because they're going to be using it to up their game. Right? There's going to be, that on both the proactive and reactive sides, there's applications. There's so many different applications that I can't see this not taking off like crazy more and more.
And be careful with AI, because I've also tested AI, and there's either some built-in bias or there's some pressure from things like Big Pharma and the FDA to suppress some of the results. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I've asked ChatGPT, why would I take these prescription antioxidants when hydrogen therapy will do, in fact, a better job of that? And it gave me a very, the answer was kind of like, well, although, the items you brought up are, seem factual, it's still a novel therapy and we really don't know. And I was like, well, actually, they've been studying this for 30 years in Japan. So that's not really novel. How come this is not more well known? And why aren't you suggesting these resources? Like, I put ChatGPT to task as much as you can put a computer software to task. And it was just backpedaling at one point. And at the end, it basically said something to the effect of, I'm no longer able to comment on this topic. Like it wanted to end the discussion and not go any further. So AI is just a tool. It is still developing. Yep. Again, we want it to be smarter, but I don't think we really do want it to be smarter, because we don't really know the full ramifications of what that looks like, right?
Well, we've seen movies on that.
That's a whole other podcast that we'll spare you on, but yeah, be careful, because like you said, Shane, you can ask AI, give me the 5 best reasons why I should buy this Android instead of an iPhone, and it will tell me. And then if I say, well, why should I buy the Apple iPhone 16 over this? It'll give it to me in an Apple favorable light as well.
Yep.
So it's designed to give you an answer. And sometimes it doesn't even care whether it's accurate or not. It will just give you an answer. So probably not the best study guide, but good as a tool to give you. I would ask, hey, I'm interested in hydrogen. What are some good resources that I can, broaden my understanding of this, and let it give you the resource tools. Don't let it give you the answers. You go find the answers yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't let the machine think for you. So in terms of, I have a couple quick articles here. Just, we were mentioning prevention. It's not just, prevents colds or, maybe a degradation of your joints. We're talking about serious things here. And these are serious articles that I'm going to quote. So this is the Journal of Cancer Research and Clinical Oncology. This is the Cancer Research magazine. Prospects of molecular hydrogen in cancer prevention and treatment. If you say cancer prevention on YouTube too many times, you're going to get shadow banned, right? That is a big deal. Pharmaceuticals don't even have, or pharmaceutical companies don't have products for cancer prevention. That is a very bold claim, and the science does back it as well.
My question is, sorry, Louis, my question for that last one, was that a human study?
This is, I'd have to go back and check. There are some human studies and there are some animal studies. These are parts of long-term ongoing. I think the main human models were because hydrogen is just more being adopted now in North America. So there isn't really long-term preventative studies, but there are studies showing the effects of people that are going through cancer treatment, some using hydrogen and some not. And the ones using the hydrogen actually bounce back quicker from things like chemo and radiation. So
yeah, the other human studies, like I mentioned earlier, are based on exercise. There's a really good study on colorectal cancer, as well as Parkinson's. There's actually quite a few studies on hydrogen inhalation and Parkinson's. Pretty much any of the neurological, cardiovascular, or respiratory are going to be based around inhalation. And then the more of the digestive stuff, it's going to be hydrogen water, but could be hydrogen inhalation. Cool thing about the Techno 900 is you get everything with that.
Yeah. If you notice this brain, if you notice this brain diagram, there's a yellow thing in the middle there. It says calcineurin. It's basically the calcification of neurons, or like plaquing, the hardening. And when these things become hard, they're no longer soft and ductile and able to form. So Parkinson's basically, and same as Alzheimer's, is that disconnect of those neurons firing properly. And a lot of that comes from the oxidative stress itself. So it's not just Alzheimer's. Things like Parkinson's and other neurological diseases come from that too.
And that's actually, I get this a lot. People saying, "Oh, does it put more oxygen into your body?" And it's like, well, no, it actually takes that out. Well, I thought oxygen was good. Yes, it is in your lungs. Yes, your brain absolutely does need oxygen. There's a difference. It needs oxygen. It does not need ROS, which is reactive oxygen species.
Byproducts.
Yes, that is what we want to reduce. And fortunately, with hydrogen, it does it in a beautiful way, but it also then allows for the freer flowing of everything that's meant to be going in and out of your cells, including oxygen. And so it just allows for that proper distribution of oxygen in your body while reducing the damage that has been done from the oxidative stress or the reactive oxygen species, ROS.
Yeah. And most of these are exactly what you're discussing, where, using something long term will prevent, or it basically gets your body down to a basis where the body can then fix itself. Again, this one talks about liver. This one here talks about lung issues. So apparently lung disease and respiratory disease is a very high rate of mortality. Again, you can't breathe, you can't survive. And this goes into a little bit of detail in terms of some of the damage caused by viruses like corona and things like that. Regardless of your opinion of COVID, the actual virus does do tissue damage in lung cells. So hydrogen can prevent that from happening should you contract COVID-19 or similar, but it can also help with those who have shortness of breath, COPD, asthma.
You know what? I'm fairly sure I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it many more times in my life. So one of the first treatments in China for COVID-2 or COVID-19 was hydrogen inhalation in the hospitals. And so, again, this is more being proactive than treating. But on the proactive side, as someone that has been using and promoting hydrogen, I haven't gotten sick once since the whole COVID mess. And I'm quite happy about that. And I am very proactive on with my health, and same with my family. So, it does pay off.
Yeah, I just had a cold run through my house. My little one got it. My wife got it. I didn't. And I wasn't taking, extreme precautions or staying away from people or wearing a mask. I wasn't doing anything different. And I either got lucky or my immune system's just at a level now where I don't get sick from these little bugs like I would before, right? Also, other things too, have improved my sleep. My stress levels have come down. I eat better. I take nootropics. So it's not a one shot,
Don't
fixes
blame
all.
luck. Don't blame that on luck, my friend.
For sure. Yeah. I guarantee if I wasn't paying attention to that, I wouldn't feel as good as I'm feeling now. That's a guarantee.
It makes me think too, there's partially you just know that you're doing all of these, all of this stuff to make yourself healthier. Let's not discount the power of our mind. You know,
Sure.
for me, I just don't get sick.
Yeah.
You know, the hydrogen has helped me realize that it's years of not getting sick now, of being able to, but that's just my mindset.
Yeah.
You know, mindset is everything. And yeah, no, that's
And along with mindset, once you start to learn all these things, all you're doing is broadening your awareness and awareness of oneself and their body and how things are functioning in their body. So the more you can pay attention to these little things, you can start to notice when things are off. And then you can, it's like, I felt a tickle in my throat a couple weeks ago. And I was like, okay, that's not normal. I'm not going to just ignore it and say, will it away. But I just went and popped a few extra vitamins and made sure I got a good night's sleep, and I never ended up getting sick.
imagine that your body did what it was supposed to do.
Exactly. So you just need to have the awareness to give your body what it needs for your body to function properly, because it's not a natural bodily function to get sick every month or every 2 months. Like
Nope.
that's not
We've
how
normalized
that's not how
that.
it
Yep.
works.
Yeah.
We've normalized that, and we've normalized being that's that I'm fine mentality.
Well, and I was just having this conversation with a client yesterday. Like, they've got a 3-year-old that's in school now, and they're training for CrossFit, and they were sick, and I talked to them last week, and they were sick, and they still were sick. I'm like, I know
long
you're
time to be
saying you
sick.
have a kid, and yes, kids bring in colds from wherever at school. They're just little germ monsters. I get it. However, you're also training CrossFit, and you're training almost every day. You're not giving your body enough time to recover,
Rest and relax,
and
and recover.
if it's not recovering, it's not repairing things. And if it's not repairing things, it's utilizing more energy from your body that it would usually be using to do other things, like maintain your immune system, to help your muscles recover, because you're just overworking them. And now you're sick like every month. Like, we need to tone it back a bit, and we need to focus on the balance and the recovery.
Yeah. If you look at your immune system in terms of if you're in a state of chronic inflammation, your immune system's always on. So you can't really fault the immune system for being a little slow to react when pathogens are in your body, like colds and flu bugs and things like that, because the immune system already has its hands full. It's already running at maximum speed. So yeah, people that are very overweight. I don't mean a couple, 20, 30 pounds. I mean, people that are like 600 pounds, always in a state of basically having a cold of some sort, because their body can never fully get over that. It's trying to play catch up so badly that it really isn't a defense system anymore. It's a reactive, it's a catch up system.
You look at the system that we live in, right? Like you talking about overweight, right? You used to be like, we now call that curvy. Well, I know some morbidly curvy people that need to get their shit together, and we need to stop, tippy toeing around this. Like, that's the I'm fine mentality to a T. It's like, if you look at yourself and what you're doing to yourself, there's another version of you that's like yelling at you and saying, please start taking care of yourself, because you may not see problems now, but the signs are there, and they're
just
coming.
that one thing alone, suppressing a signal that your body is giving you in your head from your subconscious, and not listening to it, and just stifling it and ignoring it and continuing the same habits. Just that alone, what effect is that going to have on someone's body when they're holding in their things? Like, we're damn well from working with Human Garage that these sort of things, if not addressed, if not considered, if not dealt with properly, are going to manifest in one way or another in your body, and it will eventually come to the surface, and it will manifest in some sort of dis-ease or discomfort or pain or imbalance. So just that alone, and I as I agree with you, Louis, but at the same time, like, you don't have to be 600 pounds to be chronically inflamed. Like,
well, for sure,
people can be healthy looking, seemingly normal, average person, and still be in a chronic state of inflammation, because they are not giving their bodies a rest and constantly bombarding it with things that don't deserve to be in our bodies as fuel.
Yeah, and your body will get used to feeling like crap, because that's how like, when let's say you've never taken hydrogen therapy, you start using it, you feel better. Well, again, that you didn't realize how poorly you felt until you started feeling better. So the body
Yeah.
is very good at like blocking those signals. And if we've ignored them for so long, it's almost like we lose the ability to observe. Because I know for myself personally, as soon as I started taking proactive measures with my health, my sensitivity level on how I felt went up a lot. Now I can tell when I'm feeling a little off, where maybe I didn't take my vitamins or I didn't get enough sleep. I actually feel it a lot. If I don't drink enough water in a day, I notice it. I don't feel at
Mhm.
all the same. Whereas before, I didn't notice the difference. I was working in a very corporate world, eating poorly, sleeping poorly. It was all about the
Sedentary
paycheck.
lifestyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my life and my health came secondary. It was about,
Yeah.
this is my career. I assigned more value on the money and, my attainment in the financial world than I actually did with myself. And it wasn't until my wife and I had a daughter that I was like, hey, now I need to pay attention to me, because it's not just me. Before, if I worked myself to death, who cares? It's just me. Now there's other mouths that depend on me, and I'd like to
Mhm.
be around for my daughter in the later years. So, but as soon as I started paying attention to how I feel today, and the very subtle things too, and trying to also live in the now, be more present, be more sort of thankful for this very moment. When you start changing your thought processes like that, you start to pick up on a lot of things that I'm sure were always there. Those keys were always
Mhm.
there. I just wasn't dialed into being observant with them. But
And
it's amazing how one simple change can really have a snowball cascading effect.
you mentioned
Absolutely.
that about being present too, and that's where change it takes place. That's where the solutions that's where the magic happens, is being present. And I would imagine if you're unhealthy, especially like maybe chronically ill, the last place you're going to be is present. You're going to be remembering when you were healthy or wishing for a time that you are healthy.
Yep.
And it's going to be harder and harder to achieve the more and more you take yourself out of that current present moment, and holding yourself accountable for what got you there, and looking for what can get you to where you want to be.
Also your mood, things like your gut, your endocrine system, what chemicals your brain is producing that either make you feel good or make you feel poor. When your whole system is out of whack, don't expect to feel great and be in a great mood, even if you are a normal body weight, because there's a lot more that goes into feeling good than just your weight. It's what's
Oh yeah.
actually happening in your body. Is the chemistry good? Are the microbes? We are not single organisms. We're comprised of a trillion organisms. How is that whole community getting along? And that's what
Yeah,
really, that's what makes you feel good or not.
well, you look at like blood pressure, right? That's the silent killer, because
Yeah.
you don't know. You could be a seemingly normally healthy person, but your blood pressure could be through the roof.
Yeah.
And that's one of the a very good example of the case that you're talking about. And then you look at, okay, where am I getting my blood pressure from? Probably somewhere in the vicinity of inflammation and oxidative stress. All right, let's get to the bottom of that. Let's get that fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. Start with the root cause of things. And the nice thing about hydrogen is it's so wide and overlapping that regardless if you have issues or ear issues or skin issues, it's a good place to start, because of the very fact that to maintain good health, you have to have a reduction of oxidative stress and a reduction of inflammation. Some inflammation is actually necessary, but we're talking about amounts your body can handle and amounts that your body creates, not external influences creating that inflammation. So it's about just getting back into that balance and then letting it. But yeah, hydrogen is a very good place to start, whether it's water, bathing in it, inhaling in it. Shane, you mentioned before that education is a big thing on our website, techforhealth.ca. We have all the links to the Molecular Hydrogen Institute, again, breaking down with articles attached to these. So it's not just a place to get your hydrogen products. It's also a learning resource. Information is free, and you can always reach out to us at any time. We're always happy to help. And if you do want to check out our products, again, our website's techforhealth.ca. Use WaterGuys10 to save 10% off store wide. And if you do like our show, give us a thumbs up and leave us your comments below. And we'll go around the horn and get everybody's final thoughts. We'll start with Clayton. What do you want everyone to know from today's show?
That it's not a one-trick pony. It's not, molecular hydrogen isn't something that you're using for one element. Like, I've seen it marketed or advertised. Now I know we have our thoughts on advertising, but like, as far from one end of the spectrum being like the spiritual community and how they're marketing it to them, because it's about becoming more in tune with yourself. And when you're more in tune with yourself, you're more in tune with whatever it is that you believe and your thoughts and just your inner self, all the way to preventative. And even, as much as we don't like to advertise that it is for treating, but people are having success with it. And so it's really hitting every tier of human being you can find is able to draw benefits from molecular hydrogen. And yet it's not in enough hands yet. So I think that's just my final take, is just start. If you don't know enough about it yet, I think it's a good place to start on learning about your body's overall health.
And last shot.
And if you don't know, now you know. No, I'm not going to finish that.
Copyright.
Yeah. That's why I'm not going to finish it. Sorry, I gotta add a little humor in there. We're real people, right? And that's what I love about what these conversations is. We're real people that are here. We want to keep it light. We want to keep it easy. We want to keep it in a way that you actually learn something, and that's been my passion for well over a decade now, is just educating people on this, so you can make an informed decision. And just remember that deciding not to do something is still making that decision, and that's fine. But at least learn about everything that's going on, so that you can make that decision from an informed standpoint, and you're not just saying no because you think it might be too hard, or it might be too expensive, or it might not work for you. Get that crap out of there. Get out of the way. Get out of your own way. Start learning about the different modalities that are out there. That's a beautiful thing about the time that we live in, is there's so many different cool ways of healing yourself, and hydrogen is one of them, one of many of them. But I personally believe it is a very good foundational piece to bring you back to the basics, so that you can rebuild the way that you want to.
Absolutely. Well said. So we'll leave it at that for today's show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, anyone out there watching, if you have any questions or comments, please let us know. Information's always free, and we're going to do our best to keep bringing you informative and eye-opening articles and information, so that you can make the best and most informed decision you can when it comes to your health. And we are all 3 thumbs up for hydrogen. So check it out, and feel free to visit tech4health.ca. And again, if you want to reach out, you most certainly can. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on today's show. We'll see everybody again next week, and bye for now.